Welcome to Fearless Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we are on episode 75.
Yeah. 75.
No more am I going to have any more number problems. We're good.
Ever?
I want to say
That's
ever.
a big
No,
statement.
I have learned not to speak in absolutes.
Was that like your 10 times goal from last Sunday, is that you're never going to mess up again on the numbers? Because that would be 10 times.
That was not my 10 times. That was an interesting conversation, I got to say.
Yeah.
Just because I think you and I agree, but we still disagree.
Yeah, no, it's
Maybe
good.
like to
That's
agree.
healthy. And that's, having that conversation and kind of trying to hash out like what's beneficial is best, because nobody knows everything. We all know a little bit, and we're trying to work together to know more.
And I do. Okay, so somebody called me out at one time about this. I forget what they called me, like a contrarian, or somebody at one point said, I think Orlando knows the answers to some of these. And that's true.
Yeah, no,
Because that makes for good conversation. Like if we just gave you information, like we're as educators, like one of the things I did when I taught was I started every class with a question. I obviously knew the answer to that question, right?
obviously.
Okay, sorry. Okay, that sounded really arrogant. My apologies. Okay, for the most part, I knew the answer. But the reason, and I don't want me to get too crazy here, but that Socrates was, very well known as a philosopher and for being someone that could get truth through questions, was because even though he knew the answer, he still asked those questions to guide people. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do in our discussion here is that, hey, I may not know what the truth, may not know what Grant Cardone is arriving to, but asking those questions will hopefully get us there.
Yeah, that's true. It's good. It's good stuff.
Anyways, that's not what this episode
This
is.
is not our level up review, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it and got something from it. But today is the awesome update episode.
Mike's favorite.
It's not I can't say it's my
It's
favorite.
your fave?
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, because then what does it mean about our theme episode?
The theme episodes are not my faves.
I like the theme episodes because we get to, like, I feel like an update, we're like rushing through everything. Where on the theme, we can focus on things.
That's true, but I like the stories that we tell in the update episodes.
We tell stories on the theme.
Not as much though. I like being able to talk story.
I just like
but
that.
interviews too. Interviews are up there. I love every episode we do. They're awesome.
Hey, we have a legit episode coming up. Interview. Should we reveal? Or
Are we
should
revealing?
Anyways, this individual has been requested by many. So was Brad. By the way, Brad, son of a reseller, that was an awesome time. So if you haven't caught that interview, you should definitely catch it, and we're going to have him back on. And this next guest, he's one that I would say has some of the best Instagram stories, because there's always some kind of knowledge, whether it's reselling related or just DIY related. They're there for you on Instagram. Some of you may know who I'm talking about now.
It's coming up next Sunday. It's going to be awesome. But let's jump into our update episode. How have things been for you, Mr. Orlando?
It's good. I will tell you, I'm a little bit behind as far as Q4. I thought by now I had to discuss in the last episode.
We're not even into Q4.
Yeah, but we're only like 3 weeks away.
That's true.
Got to be ready. And hot items are beginning to sell already, which is kind of crazy. But again, I talk about this, that sometimes those hot toys or hot items, they don't necessarily sell after Black Friday. They sell before that. So I'm a little bothered by that. I would say as far as merchant fulfilled, I don't know if we did discuss it in getting ready for Q4, that I'm trying to make sure I do merchant fulfilled. So there's a certain requirement of sales of toys that I need to have. I haven't even done that yet. I haven't even sourced those. Now, what I recommend is I'm going to source something that's under 100 rank. And I'm just going to price it at whatever price. And even if I lose money, I'm just going to sell to meet the requirements.
Yeah, it's almost like a loss leader or something, right?
Are you doing this?
Amazon?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't. I don't know. Maybe.
You're leaving money on the table, Mike.
I believe it, but I'm also, like we talked about with the last episode, I really do think I could way increase the amount of money that I'm making if I jumped on Amazon. But I've already got my hands full with eBay, and I'm kind of happy where I'm at, and I want to scale eBay a little bit. I don't know if I'm ready to give up time with family, give up leisure time. I think eventually I'm going to get to a place like my wife will be staying home starting in December. So her focus at that point will be taking on Amazon, taking on those things. And it won't cut into family time. So I don't know. I don't know if this is the year.
Okay. This is what I'll say. I do recommend, because remember, I wasn't this hardcore about Q4 4 or 5 years ago. I still did Q4. So you can still do, I would say it's best, number one, to make sure you're merchant fulfilled, because you never know. Come November, you might go, you know what? I really wish I did that. Right? So maybe it's best to take care of that. And the other part is you will definitely be better off for next year doing it this year. I believe that every Q4 you get better at what you're doing. I will be far better at Q4. I'm hoping this time around than I was the year before and the year before that. Because even your first Q4, you may think you have a handle on things. And you might. I mean, I would say if you paid for a decent course or the right mentorship, you might have done everything well, and you probably won't have a better Q4 as far as knowing what to do. You may have a better financial Q4, but you got the logistics down. So that's just my recommendation. So as far as update, there was that. And so I need to work on that. And then I went sourcing a little bit in San Francisco, but I want to hear about how things are going for you before I jump into that.
Yeah, things are going good. The new school that I'm at is great. I'm really enjoying that. I want to say it's freeing up time for reselling. But so far the free time it's given me, I put some of it into the podcast. I put some of it, just into more time with the family. And because of the amount of work I've already kind of front loaded into eBay, we're still making those sales. So even though I'm not going as hard into eBay as I should be, or could be, I guess I should say, I'm reaping benefits from work that I've already put in. And now it's like the extra time I have with my family, it's like, oh, this is amazing. So, it's one of those things where, especially as we move towards Q4, and for my wife leaving a full-time job where she's making really good money, more money than I make, right? That might have to switch mindset of, okay, maybe need to take a little more seriously the reselling thing. But, we're really enjoying the fifth wheel. We're really enjoying that. And, I'm encouraged by the podcast and how we're doing with this. But, just to be completely transparent, reselling has kind of taken not a complete backseat, but it's definitely just been a slow and steady as opposed to like charging full speed into it.
Now, the only advice I'll give you, as again, we started the podcast to share, experiences, is that I would say it would probably behoove you. I'm going to use that word, behoove. It would behoove you probably to intensify your reselling over the next few months, because it's like anything. You believe that, hey, when I get here, I'm going to be performing at that level. But it's a lot easier to perform at that level if you're already coasting towards that level.
Right.
To go from 0 to 100 is really tough.
It's true.
Right. It's kind of like people that ask us, hey, when do you think is the right time to go full time? And some people will say anytime. I make the argument that it's going to take a long time of hustling. And eventually when you get to a place where you're used to hustling that much, it'll be a lot easier to jump full time.
Yeah.
So that's my encouragement to you.
No, that's true. And I think that's probably the right move. My right move probably is to say, okay, I've kind of enjoyed a season of bringing in a lot of extra money from reselling, still listing, still making sales, still almost daily coming and packing something and taking it, to the post office. So reselling is still a big part of my life right now. I don't want to make it seem like I've walked away from reselling, but you're right. Like if instead of just overnight saying like, okay, now my wife's full-time, go, the slow ramp up and kind of building that momentum, I do think is very beneficial. So I think that's probably going to be my goal kind of going forward over the next several months, is every week slowly increasing the amount I'm listing, the amount I'm sourcing, what we're doing, so that when that transition happens, it's smoother. So thanks. Appreciate that. It's good.
Okay.
It's good stuff.
Thanks for listening. All right. So trip to San Francisco. I got to tell you, it was refreshing. I did do some sourcing. And here's what's crazy. So, you know that you have solid friends when they don't care what you do, in the sense that you don't have to go to dinner. You don't have to have like the special occasion. It was kind of interesting. So I known these guys since I was a kid. One of them I knew since I was in third grade. The other guy I've known since we were seniors in high school. And we started hanging out and we're kind of like, hey, what do you want to do? And I just kind of sheepishly said, can we go to Marshall's? I want to see what's at Marshall's, because there was those yellow tag sales. We went. Actually, there was nothing. Spent 45 minutes. Nothing, right?
They were probably like, you've got a weird job.
Well, no. But you know what? Here's the thing. They didn't. Like they were like, all right, cool. And I'm like, are you guys okay with this? And they're like, whatever. As long as we're hanging out, we're talking about life, we're good. I'm like, all right. So then we went to some thrift stores. Totally good with it, which I was kind of shocked. Now, so shout out to them. That was an awesome time. Appreciate you guys. The other part of it is I thought that things were going to be outrageous, right? Because in San Diego, I don't know, maybe we're in this bubble of just obnoxious prices, bad policies, and so on. So the first thrift store I went to literally was, if I drove there 3 minutes from where I grew up. It was in an old Hollywood video. And those of you that follow us on Instagram, you saw some of this. I go, no joke, within the first 5 minutes, I find a pair of Ferragamos, Red Wing shoes, vintage Allen Edmond boots, all for $9.99. Now, some of you might go, that's outrageous. It's not. Because in San Diego, that would be at the least $20 to $25. Most likely $39.99.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like shocked at what I find. Then I find a Rain Spooner for, I think it was like $4.99 or $5.99. Shocked. Again, and this wasn't like a super nice area where I grew up. Right? Now, it's kind of interesting. San Francisco, half of it where I grew up on the Mission District is gentrified. The other half is still what I would call the barrio. And that's my neighborhood. And it's still like that. And this Goodwill was in there. And there are these really nice items. So my guess is, part of that, swarm of Google and Apple people and all, they have these things that they're offloading and donating and it's making it into those stores. Then I go to a case and it's filled with Ferragamo shoes and Todd's, Todd shoes. That's another, giving out BOLOs.
BOLO?
Actually, we have somebody that called in a BOLO sound effect.
Oh, yeah?
Did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
Should we play it on this podcast?
Maybe.
I think it may be worth our time. I think it's pretty awesome. So we should do it.
Well, I'm trusting you.
We haven't discussed it at all. This is how organic this podcast is. Okay. So
it better be amazing.
It's there.
It's there.
It's there. So we appreciate you guys calling in, by the way. So I go there. I'm shocked. I'm like, okay, first of all, why are the prices that's so good? And where are the other resellers? Like, why hasn't this stuff been scooped up? So I go in, I drop, I think it was like $40. I'm easily going to make at the least $200 net, at the most $300 to $400 net. Then we go to another one, 10 minutes from where I live. Show up, I found Pataloha. You know what Pataloha is?
Mm-mm.
So Pataloha is Patagonia Hawaiian shirts that are getting more scarce. Wow, we're dropping all these BOLOs. They sell for $50 to $60 if you find them.
Nice.
Right? Then I find more Allen Edmonds and not like cheap Allen Edmonds. Allen Edmonds, there's different kinds. These were on the higher end. I find ballet shoes. I find all these items. I'm going, number one, either they're constantly restocking that resellers can't get them all, or maybe there's a shortage of resellers in the area. So I scored huge. Then the next day, thank you all of you that sent me DMs like, hey, Orlando, you should stop here. Again, one of the reasons why sharing is powerful. Like I had all these people saying, you should go here, you should go here, you should go here. I didn't geotag any of them, by the way, in case you're wondering. So the next store I go to, I drive a little bit out. This store was crazy. So our honey hole?
Uh-huh.
This is like our honey hole.
Nice.
But it was crazy because certain shoes, like there was a pair of Keen boots that were $69.99. I was like, what? What is it? A pair of Cole Haan? $74.99. But I scored so many good pairs of shoes and apparel at a decent price. So it got me thinking that, one, we're in a unique scenario in San Diego. We really are.
But going back to our level up review, we could be victims about that.
No, I agree.
We could say it's our fault. And it really is. Like, we choose to live here.
But we still find good places to source.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll share some of that here in a moment. Because you were supposed to go to garage sales, right?
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, but you still went thrifting.
I did. Yep.
Okay, right? And the other component is that there is such an abundant supply. I'm telling you, I had to pass up on stuff because I had two huge suitcases. One was only filled up a quarter. The other one was completely empty. And I still struggled cramming them in that one of the jackets I actually had to wear on the flight back. Okay, that's how much stuff I had.
That's crazy. You're just like loading up. I mean, I can only imagine like wearing like 10 outfits.
This was a puff coat.
So imagine going through security and you've got like 5 shirts on and 3 pairs of pants. They'd be like, what is this guy? What is his deal? But you could probably fit a lot of, just wear your entire suitcase.
So yeah, so that whole trip paid for, that whole sourcing paid for my entire trip and more. So I loved it. It was great going back to the Bay Area. Good times, good money. I will say everything is
win.
Yeah, except everything's really expensive. Really expensive.
Except for thrift stores.
Except for no, there's certain things that thrift stores are expensive. But yeah, from the hotel to the food to everything, I was kind of shocked. I thought San Diego was expensive. Oh my. San Francisco. It's an expensive place to live.
No joke.
So, all right. So that is my update.
Nice.
All right. So tell me a little bit. Thrift, how'd it go?
Yeah, I decided not to go to garage sales, which was a really hard decision for me to make. I didn't get home until very, very late Friday night. And so I had to make a decision. I typically get up early, but I had to make a decision. Okay, so I'm going to get up early enough. I'm going to spend time tonight mapping out. So you got to do that first before you go to garage sales, right? Or wake up even earlier to map out. So I'm going to lose half hour to an hour doing that. And then I'm going to have to wake up early and get to these places because I'm a little bit further away from like the city now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, or I can sleep in a little bit and I can hit up a couple thrift stores. And there's a few that I know that I can go to and I'm going to find some stuff. And the ROI won't be as big, but I could still get a ton of items. I could still source a bunch of stuff. I'm going to be able to get a little bit of extra sleep and I'm going to be able to see my son when he wakes up and stuff like that. So it worked out. I decided to do that instead of going to garage sales. A big part of me was like really bummed about it, but it's that decision, right? Like garage sales, I would choose over thrift stores 100% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
except there's the human element of, maybe I want a little bit more sleep or I want to spend more time with my family or whatever it is. So was it as good of ROI? No, but I still walked away from, a few hours of being away from home and probably $300 to $400 net profit. So not bad. And the nice thing too, thrift stores are never a guarantee, but neither are garage sales. I could have spent that time out at garage sales and missed, so,
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about it, but at the same time, that means I'm like dying for garage sales. Like I almost feel like a drug addict who's just like waiting for like the next hit. And that's what I feel like for
missed today
sales.
too. Today was good.
Don't tell me that.
It's Saturday when we're recording this, by the way. We didn't go garage selling on Wednesday. So I am going to share that though. That's my random story.
Yeah. How good it was.
Okay. So were you able to find lots of shoes, lots of apparel, like electronics?
Yeah, I got some shoes. I got some electronics. I got some pants. Yeah, I did pretty good overall. It's not bad.
Okay. And how long did it take you to do that?
The thrift store that I went to is pretty far, so I drove almost an hour to get there.
Okay. But it was worth your time?
But I was only in the store for an hour and then I drove for an hour back. So that meant I got to listen to podcasts for 2 hours, which I love doing.
You re-listened to all our old episodes?
No, I didn't.
Just joking.
That would be weird.
That'd be terrible.
But
you should do that. I'm joking.
Go back, listen to them. They're great. So really, if you think about it, my 3 hours of work involved 2 hours of me getting to listen to podcasts, which was awesome. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, and I think I listened to a little bit of an audiobook. Only an hour in the thrift store, and I made that much. Not too bad, right? Like I feel pretty good about that. So, not a bad day. I'm happy about it. I'm happy. About it. But I'm still missing the garage sales.
Well, there's always next Saturday, and actually, phase 2 of garage sale season in San Diego is going to be starting up here soon.
That's what I'm waiting for. That's my excuse. I didn't go today because I'm waiting for.
Now that will also mean that's the phase where there'll be more for you to get because I won't be out there as much because I might be doing a lot more retail arbitrage.
So if you're listening to this and you're in the San Diego area, Orlando's busy. Get out to the garage sales.
Yeah, but again, I did say that last year I feel like I still should have gone to garage sales.
True.
I don't know. It's such a hard.
Just
balance.
give up Saturday. Just don't do retail arbitrage on Saturday, or save your retail arbitrage until later in the evening.
Yeah,
like,
but
the morning. Like you're not. How much retail arbitrage can you do between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.?
Here's the hard part with retail arbitrage with me. I've noticed this about myself. I cannot pack a shipment if it's after 9 o'clock. I feel, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I find that I can source all day. And if I get home around 9, I'll start. Then I'm like, I'll finish this in the morning. Then that pushes back my sourcing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now with Q4, that might not happen anymore. And I am thinking of hiring a helper for Q4, specifically for retail arbitrage. So that might change too. So we'll see what happens.
It's good stuff.
All right. What's your crazy random story?
You go first.
I'm basically going to outline garage sales today because I thought there's a lot to take away, and it was different in the sense that today's garage sales, I felt like I had to pull out all the stops, like everything I knew about how to garage sell, I had to do to make it happen. And sometimes you have to do that. So the reason I say that is because the last few haven't been that great. Like, I don't know, you talked about last update episode. I saw your IG stories and it seemed rough, and it's right. It was rough. So this Saturday, I made a concerted effort, okay, that I was going to make this happen. So we shared some of this. I did the research and I did it by keyword. And I looked and I said, okay, this place is going to have this item and this item, and this place is going to have this item. And I'm going to go and I'm going to get up early. And what Mike said stuck with me, which I hate. But Mike had said... You
hate that I had some decent advice?
Yeah, it drives me crazy. So Mike said, if you don't get up at the time you said you were going to wake up, that you're letting yourself down. And I'm a very big on loyalty and commitment and being a man of my word. So I said, I'm going to get up at 6. So I said, I'm going to get up at 6 to make sure that I'm at this garage sale early to pick up these items. So I looked and the garage sale started at 7. And so what it was a bunch of TV ears. And those of you that follow us on Instagram, you know about this. So I'm just giving all the behind the scenes that happened. So I was worried because of these pictures. Okay, it was a very nice setup for a garage sale, but the garage sale didn't happen yet. So was this from last year, or did they purposely stage it to draw people in? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, whenever I see those on Craigslist where it's like the picture of the garage sale and everything's already set up, part of me thinks like, oh, like this is weird. Like,
right?
They already had this garage sale and the stuff isn't still there. Like, is it sitting outside right now in the weather? Like, it's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
So I woke up and Mike was on my mind. It's a terrible thing.
That's
at 6 in the morning.
You shouldn't say that on the podcast.
All right. It's too late. So I get up and I do. I get everything ready. And a lot of you guys don't know, my youngest son is my co-pilot on every garage sale. He's not in the stories, but he's there. So that adds another layer, right? Waking him up, getting his breakfast, like, it's like trying to get out the house. So I go. I show up 20 minutes early. Crickets. I look at the address. I'm like, maybe I got the wrong address. I start looking it up. Nothing. I sit there. Starts at 7. I sit there till 7:05. No action. And only one other reseller drove by and he was like, whatever, I'm moving on. So I'm like, great. I finally commit to getting up on time. I show up early. Get nothing out of it. So I leave. Luckily, there's another garage sale around the corner. I go to the other garage sale. I pick up, some pair of shoes and a backpack. I go back. It started. I'm like, great. What if they pick up? So I show up. Now, I'm talking about I had to do every garage sale maneuver today at garage sales. I see all these TV ears. They had about 11 of them. 9 were stacked and 2 were on separate sides. I show up. I see this guy looking at them. I'm like, oh, no. Now, if you know anything about me, like I'm still willing to try to get the merchandise, right?
It's a nice way of saying you're pretty aggressive.
Well, yeah, well, sometimes you need to be.
True.
You got to be real. Well, this guy's just looking at it. He's not saying anything to the guy. I just show up. I'm like, I look at him. I go, I want to buy all of these right now. How much? Like, I didn't stop. I just, boom. And then the other guy goes, oh yeah, I was thinking about those too. In my mind, I'm like, sorry, man. You should have said your piece.
Yeah, I think that's a good actually piece of advice because there's been a few times where I'm looking at something and I feel like you can kind of commit with a customer, or not a customer. You can commit with the owner of the home, the seller, and then somebody else could come in and you're already in the negotiation process and you can kind of cut them out. So even if you're not sure and you're still doing research, you could at least say, how much you want for these, right? Even just saying that, and when they give you a price, Then if somebody else were to come in and start, you could be like, oh, no, I'm taking these. Even if you later decide that you don't want them, like you've already started that process. So the fact that he didn't do that, like.
No, I kind of established my territory. And I know maybe I'll hear in the comments like, Orlando, that was a jerk move. I didn't do anything wrong. I just came up and just said.
Did he have one in his hand? I think okay.
No, he actually.
Because I think if he's holding one in his hand and then you say you want to buy it, that would be where I would say, okay, that's probably too far.
They're on the ground. Now, here's what's interesting. So he goes, oh, I got to call my buddy up. Now, here's what happened. I guess the guy, partied late. I guess, well, that's what the other people were saying. Like, oh, somebody was out late. I'm like, that's so mean. Like, do you realize you've lost your negotiation power by mocking the person doing the garage sale? Like, that's a bad move. Like, don't do that. I didn't do that. I just, I was cordial with the guy. So he said it's his buddy. So he calls his buddy. And each of these right now, I think the price is high because there's only one listing, but they're going for like $99 a piece. Okay. And there's 9 of them. There's 11 actually, but 9 of them are stacked. So he calls his buddy and his buddy goes, I'll do 75 for all of them. I'm like, all right, can you do 60? And then I noticed that the other guy is paying attention to what's happening. And then I go, you know what? I'll do 75.
Yeah, because at that point, because you've told a story and you've actually got a little bit of flack for that, where somebody was making an offer and you came in and you offered the higher price, right?
Let's not bring back the other story.
Sorry. So that, you had to prevent that from happening because that could have happened to you. Now, that reminds me, just the fact though that you were able to do that now, whether or not people think that was too far, the fact that you're able to get in there and actually negotiate when somebody, because I know myself, I can be a little timid when like it comes to asking. I'm getting a lot better. Like I'll ask, I'll do things, but I'm not as assertive. But interesting quote.
Oh,
quote of the week.
Wow, just dropping it in there.
The best way to dominate is to do what others refuse to do, which is a quote that actually comes from the 10X rule from Grant Cardone. We haven't got to that part of the book yet, but I figured I'd throw that in there. But it's true. Like in order to be that successful, you got to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And you did that for better or worse.
All right. So that's what I did. But I'm serious. Like you have to be aggressive at times. Like remember, this is a business. And I'm not saying being aggressive, be a jerk or be rude. I'm saying just be assertive. Right? And in the end, it worked out. Now here's what's interesting. So there's 2 others there. I got the 9 and there are the 2 others. And I was like, hey, can we throw those in too? I'll buy those too. And he's like, oh no, that's for me. Right? I leave. I come back to get my other stash. There's other people with those 2 in their hands. And one of them goes, how much? He goes, I think he said something effect of, how about 30? I'm like, wait, I know what just happened. The guy realized he made a bad deal. So my other tactic was get in my car and leave ASAP. That's what I did. But think about that. Like, so you got to move quick too, right? You can't play, like once you make that deal, unless there's something else.
Like that they would come back and like say, oh, never mind.
Not that they'll say never mind, but I had only had half of the lot with me. The other half was still in the garage. He could have, it would have been a terrible move on their part to go like, you know what? I don't know. I got to charge you more. Like, I don't know. Have you been in that scenario before?
No.
I've never been. Like, I don't know how I would react if that happened.
That one time, and I told the story. There's one time where I was at there were these 2 guys at this house and they were moving, and the one guy gave me a GPS for free, and the other one, as I'm like walking away and I'm still looking at other things, I'm like, oh, I wonder if there's anything else here I want. He's like, you're just giving that away? And he's like, yeah, man, we're not using it. And I'm like, I'm out of here before they decide like, you know what, actually we want, because they gave it to me. It's like, it's yours. You can have it. I'm not going to let them decide that was a bad choice later. And if they decide that, it's going to be when I'm gone.
Agreed.
And it's listed on eBay.
So that's part 1 of garage sales. So part 2 is...
Oh, you're being selfish.
No, because I think these are valuable things and maybe you don't. I don't know.
No, they're valuable.
This is like garage sale 101, like everything I had to do to make things happen. Now, hopefully you didn't miss that the night before. I already had planned out the routes. I already knew what I was going to get. I had mentioned that. Buckles. Where am I? You know, I love buckles, and there's a lot of money in buckles. So I show up at this estate sale. You know, you do the, hey, how's it going? Right? You try to break the ice. And this guy, I go, how much for the buckles? And he tells me $7 a piece. I'm like, ooh, like I'm not going to pay more than $5 for a buckle. Just because usually when I buy them, I'm buying bunches, and I don't know, like some of them may be valuable, some may not be, right? But with $5, chances are you're going to be at least sell it for 10 or 20. So I ask him how much. And again, you get thrown with, well, what do you want to pay for these? Right? And our response always is awkwardness. So I said, I don't know. What are you thinking? A minute and a half.
Did you time it? Did you start
No, it's on my... So when I did the Instagram story, the whole video of the whole negotiation was 3 minutes. Right? So for an hour and a half, I didn't put it in the Instagram story. I should have, but people have been like, what is going on?
Just silence.
Just silence. But it literally was... And he kept recounting it, right? So there's 11 of them. And he goes, and I asked him, I said, how much can we do if we bundle it all, right? If I just take these all and make a deal. He goes, I can do 80. Think about that, Mike. 7 a piece, but I offered to bundle them for a lower price, and he said 80.
Yeah, he went up.
And then I go, then it got really awkward. Then I go, 80. That's not the number you gave me before. He's like, oh. So then he recounts them again. Then he goes, I could do 77.
What?
You can't make this. This isn't the Instagram story. I'm telling you, this is what happened. So then I'm still in this.
That's just a guy who's holding his ground, man. He should have just been like $7 a piece.
Wait,
what if I bundle them together?
Let me rewind
77.
Let me rewind a little bit. I forgot to mention that the initial one was $100. Okay, $100. And I said, why 100? He goes, oh, this one's worth more. So I said, okay, remove that one. So he removed that one. That's how he landed with 80. And then we got to 77. So then I go, listen, I'll be real with you. I can't pay more than $5 per buckle. He goes, yeah, lowest I can go is 7. Wait, what? I'm bundling here, man. Like, what do you mean? I didn't say that. I thought that internally in my mind. So then this is the next negotiation tip. You walk away. You don't 100% walk away and leave it, but you act like, eh. So I go, I'm sorry. I guess we just can't make a deal. And I walked away. So then I go to snapback hats. How much for these snapback hats? $5 a piece. I don't buy snapback hats for more than $3 unless it's something I know I'm going to make money for. I'm like, yeah, I guess we can't make the deal. So then he leaves and he goes talk to his friend. He goes, so what are you willing to pay for the buckles? I go, 55. He goes, okay, we'll do the 55. So I scored all those buckles. Now, then I asked him about the really expensive one. Still $30. Now, that one is worth probably $30 to $50. So anyways, I had to pull all the stops. The awkward pause, the walking away, the standing your ground, removing one from the bundle to lower the price. That's a big one, especially if you can remove those most expensive piece. Mm-hmm. That'll work. So it worked out.
No, that's good. And I think we've talked about it before, but there is a psychology element to it where the person might want a certain amount for it. But once they know you're willing to pay, like you said, I would buy them all. I'd buy them all at $5 a piece. And then you walk away. It's not just that they didn't get, the amount they wanted, but now they've lost $55, mm-hmm. right? Because they could have that and they've turned it down. So that now hurts a little bit. When they're doing the negotiation, they're not feeling it. But the moment it's like, wait, if he walks away, I don't have that mm-hmm. money. I can have that money. Like, then it becomes a loss. Even though they haven't lost anything, they're in the same spot they were before you walked up to them. It now feels like they just lost $55.
Agreed. So what happens after that, they're like, hey, I have a whole bunch of hats. And then he offered me, the unfortunate thing is that all the hats that he offered me weren't worth anything. but he was willing to go $3 on each hat. And I probably would have been able to get more. Anyways, garage sales. You can still make deals happen. That day, I mean, this morning or, whenever you're listening to this, I'm probably going to make 800, not just on the speakers and the buckles, but I picked up some Georgia boots for $2. I picked up some other items. Probably going to make, I put conservatively on Instagram. I don't know if I put on Instagram. Maybe I put on TikTok. I'm going to make 800 net. Probably going to make over $1,000.
You're good at this, man. I'm not that good.
No, it's not that I'm good. It's what Grant Cardone said in the 10X rule is that luck doesn't happen. It doesn't just happen, right? You have to be consistent. And again, if you're consistently out at garage sales and you're consistently being assertive about those deals, you'll land upon them.
No, it's true. I've experienced that myself.
You have.
I've had big deals. I've had big sales. And I know a big part of it for me is we were really big on research, and I don't do as much upfront research as I probably could do. And the more I do, and part of it's just experience, right? Like the number of years you've done it helps. And same thing with me. Like I am so much faster and better today than I was when I first started, So I agree. I would never attribute your success to luck for sure. But man, like
there's a part of me that finds that insulting. I'm not insulted by you, but I think I'm very careful of not letting anybody know like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, no, you don't know how hard that person worked to get to that place.
Yep.
So
no, absolutely.
We're good.
I just said I don't contribute it to luck. What are you talking about?
I just said. It's getting late. Mike's getting a little worked up here. All right. What's your story?
So mine actually has to do with my BOLO, so I won't give the exact item until we get to BOLO. But so I'm at this thrift store and I find this really cool like synthesizer, right? And I know a little bit about synthesizers because
I love synthesizers.
I used to play like just for fun. It was never super serious, but like in a band, and I had a Roland SH201, which is the synthesizer I used. Ton of fun.
I'm just laughing because this is all new to me.
It's not something I tell people like I was in a band. Because I had no talent at all. But the guys in the band, the other guys, they were really, really good. I was a nobody though. They just let me hang around because like, I don't know, I guess they liked me. But so I had a Roland SH201. I love that thing. And I actually sold it to a Guitar Center to make some money to buy some board game stuff that I wanted. So I just traded one hobby
The real
for another.
Mike came through.
So anyways, I find this synthesizer and I'll tell you the exact what it was when we get to BOLO. But it said on the synthesizer, ask for power cords. I'm like, okay, good. They've obviously got the power cord for this thing. So I ask them, they're like, oh, you got to take it to the back. We'll test it in the back. I'm like, okay. So I go back there and you could tell they kind of really didn't know what was what. And they plug it in and the guy gets it turned on and he starts pushing buttons. And there's like a girl employee with him too. So they're both standing there and they're like, this is amazing. They're like messing with it. And they're like, come here. Do you want to test
awesome.
this? And so I come over and I push a couple buttons and I check to make sure the knobs are going. I'm like, okay, this is good. And he's like, all right. And he's like hitting stuff.
Like jamming on it?
Yeah. Like, I mean, obviously not playing anything great, but he's like, this is so cool. I'm like, all right, yeah. And he's like, do you want it? And I was like, yeah. So I walk out of the back and like, I'm looking at stuff on the wall and I'm looking at other things, like still sourcing. And for like probably another couple of minutes, I just hear them back there, like playing on the synthesizer.
So hilarious.
So part of me is like, okay, like, please don't break it. This is money. Don't break my item. But the other part of me is like, this is kind of funny because they're back there instead of working, they're playing with my synthesizer, right? And cool. it was pretty funny. So I knew it worked, right? I'm listening to it work. I'm like, all right, it works, and it's bringing somebody joy. So it was kind of a funny situation. Again, part of me though, because I'm gonna make quite a bit of money off it, was like, please don't break it, please don't break it, please don't break it. But I can't go in there and say, hey, stop touching it, like, because then it will be broken.
And how do you react? Like if they break it, what can you really do?
I couldn't. I mean, I wasn't back there anymore. Like I wouldn't even be able to prove they broke it. So
I mean, that's what's the hard. And I've been to stores like that where they test things out and they're like, oh, come pick it up at the end with your ticket. I'm like, ooh, like really? Can I just keep it in my cart? Like you just never know.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of one of those things we've talked about where it's the worst when, like I've told you, like I won't give you anything that I find because if you break it, I don't know how to react to that. Right. I've shared that before. It's the same thing. Like you can get angry at them, but it's not going to benefit anybody.
Yeah.
So, okay. That's pretty funny though. Should have recorded. That should have been like an Instagram story, Mike. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, that would have been good. But man, when I'm sourcing, I'm in the zone.
You're in the zone. So am I.
You're just better at multitasking.
I guess so. I will say, it's funny because people will tell me that they run into us at garage sales or whatever. And some of them say they saw us, but they didn't say hi. And I feel really bad. I'm like, I hope we weren't like jerks or we gave off this vibe, like, don't mess with us. But I say that you're always welcome to stop. You're always welcome to say hi. There will always be profits there. Now, if you're coming to say hi to distract us as somebody you're with is picking up stuff.
And you're taking stuff out of our cart.
Then, that'll be interesting. But I know none of our listeners are ever going to do anything like that because they're awesome listeners.
That's right.
So, all right. It's time for current topics. You ready? Unless you have another story to share.
No, that's it.
All right. So this is going to be a little bit here. The fall eBay seller update has been released.
Oh man, this sounds like it should be its own episode.
No, it's not. So we've already talked about a lot of this. So a lot of what we're going to share, I guess we got the inside scoop at eBay Open. So I don't want to repeat a lot of things. So they talked about MUA. They talked a lot about different things in managed payments and all those things. But there's some things I wanted to highlight so we're all aware. So you have no idea what I'm share here? Okay.
Nada.
What
do you got for me?
I'd like to hear your thoughts. So they talked about managed payments and we talked about how they're rolling in more sellers.
Yeah, I got another call.
You did?
I got another
Did you
call.
answer this time?
I answered this time. And I basically said, like, thanks. This all sounds great. I'll do it once you do the global shipping program.
And how did they respond?
Okay, thanks. And then they hung up.
Okay. Now, the other thing we didn't talk about in the other podcast that you should be aware of is up until now, you have to fund your own shipping. Like it doesn't come out of the payment from the buyer. You get what I'm saying? So you have to have money in PayPal, which isn't a problem if, you sell a lot. But if you're new, that can get kind of tricky. Let's say you only have like 3 sales and you have maybe $20, but to ship is going to cost you 30. It's a little sketchy. So be careful. I mean, don't get us wrong. eBay is our bay, but if they try to convince you, be aware 2 things. No global shipping for now. No eBay's global shipping program. And number 2, you're going to have to figure out ways to fund your PayPal account to pay for the shipping, which is kind of crazy. But in time, that's all going to get fixed. That's what they talked about. That's the other part that not only, that's eventually going to get fixed. So you can, right out of the buyer payout, you can pay for shipping. And number 2, when it comes to managed payments, is that you'll be able to refund right through Seller Hub.
That's so nice.
Right?
That would be so nice.
It's kind of weird. Like that it's the unknown thing that you have to figure out, that you have to go to PayPal.
Yeah, you have to go to PayPal. Yep.
I still, and even then I go, this is kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I just wonder at what point did somebody at eBay go, this is kind of weird?
Well, I mean, it makes sense given that we heard one of the VPs at eBay Open tell us from the very beginning, they were just acting as a broker connecting people. They were never involved in the payments. It was like, this person bought it, you're selling it, you guys figure it out. And so you sent a check or a money order or cash, right? And so their whole thing was the whole payment stuff, you guys figure that out. Refunds, all that stuff. But now that, the market has changed and the demand for what a platform should be doing is changing, they have to figure this out. And so, yeah, it kind of makes sense that even with PayPal, you had to do it on your own and eBay wasn't handling that. But now that they will, it's nice. It's one less step.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be great. I think once global shipping gets in there, it's just going to make everything. And again, remember, one of the things that didn't get mentioned in the update, but what we were told at eBay Open was once everybody's transitioned and everything's in play, like getting a best offer and accepting an offer sometimes leads to an unpaid item. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen anymore. It will automatically be paid.
Yeah, that'll be so nice.
That'll be beautiful. All right. Counter offers. So again, I'm just highlighting certain things. I'm not a fan of reading out everything. There's things about, if you sell cars and other things that are on the seller update. I just want to talk about certain things we felt were important. So now you'll be able to send offers to items that are in people's carts, which it's great. I didn't know that you weren't doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, but that's cool though, because somebody might not be watching something, but put it in their cart.
Yeah. So it's not just going to be watchers now. It's going to be people in carts. The other part is they now will be able to counter offer the offer you sent them, which
that'll be huge.
I thought that already happened.
No, remember we had that conversation where I told you that I would send out an offer, and then the message that I would get back, I would get a message from them saying, "Thank you so much for sending the $45 offer on the Cole Haan shoes. Would you be willing to do 39?" Right? And it's like, well, that's weird. Why don't they just send me an offer? And so I send them the $39 offer on it, and then they accept it. But then I realized, it's because they can't respond back with an offer.
Now, what I'm really hoping, and we'll take credit for this one, is that what we suggested to the VP of eBay was that there should be a drop-down menu that if people want free shipping, you can change it to free shipping in your counter offer. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And really that's just semantics. Like you're just arguing over like, because no matter what, it's the bottom price, right? Like,
yeah, but they talked about, sorry, am I talking over you? I'm not trying to cut you off. Just want to be careful.
You're okay.
Okay. So Mike and I had a discussion about this earlier. So what they said is that they did all these surveys and they actually tracked what is the major thing. Oh, it's not surveys. They did some data mining, I guess. And what they tracked was that majority of counter offers that are sent to sellers are for our buyers asking for free shipping. And so we recommended, hey, if that's the case, what just allow us, even though it's semantics, psychologically, they agreed with us that in their studies, wherever it shows that if the buyer thinks that they're getting free shipping, they're more likely to purchase the item.
It's silly, but
it's so dismissive.
I mean, it does help. It does help the ease. I mean, it's not as big of a deal, I guess, if it's calculated shipping. It's different than if it's like a fixed price, because fixed price shipping, when you have fixed price shipping, it's easy enough just to say like, oh, okay, I'm charging $7 shipping, so I'll just take $7 off of the principal cost, right, of the item. But where that could really get tricky is when you're talking about, calculated shipping.
Mm-hmm.
The scary thing I think with that is you might not necessarily know what their shipping cost is, right? Because if there's some items that you send, if you're not sending, like for instance, if you're sending through UPS because it's a big item, or FedEx, if they live out in the boondocks and they're not in an area where it's easy to access, there's extra surcharges and stuff attached to it. So if you just click a button that says free shipping, and all of a sudden you realize like, hey, it's an extra $15 to ship out to this area, it's a big deal, right? Is instead of just saying like, well, I can lower the cost of the item a little bit, and then they still cover that weird surcharge.
And I've done it before where I've offered free shipping and then I ended up losing money. So you got to really be careful. All right, next one. Promoted listings are only going to show up once in a search. You know what that's about? Have you ever seen a promoted? Do you do promoted listings?
I do.
Okay. So what happens sometimes on the same page, it'll have your listing and then your promoted listing.
Oh, right.
Now it's only going to have one, which I'm not sure how that's a win for us.
It might not be a win for us in the short term, but even as a customer, like I could see how it gets confusing when you see something at the top and you're like, oh, okay, maybe not that item. And you scroll down and you see it again. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
I don't know. I'm happy that it gets double exposure. Now, let me read what eBay says.
As a seller.
Let me read what eBay says and maybe it'll make more sense. They said, in our ongoing effort to optimize the visibility of promoted listing placements, we're shifting to a mix of promoted and non-promoted listings at the top of search results. Now, a mixture of promoted and non-promoted listings will be eligible to appear in the top search rankings. This is designed to balance visibility for both promoted and organic non-promoted listings, depending on the relevance to a buyer's search and quality of a seller's listing.
But that doesn't say what you just said about there only being on the page once. That seems to be addressing something different.
No, it's saying that there's here, the line before it says removal of duplicated promoted and non-promoted listings in search.
Okay, so that's good, but that sounds like a separate issue of them using that promoted listing spots for items that aren't promoted. That sounds like a totally different situation.
True, but what I'm seeing is that maybe it's going to allow for more people's promoted listings to show up, where you would have that one, you'd have those two, right? So you're taking the space, right? So now you're removing one, so that allows other people's promoted listings to show up. I don't know.
I don't know if I understood it that way. I kind of understood it as instead of just having it, when somebody search, they might not show a promoted listing. They might just do like organic searches. Or like the next time, depending on if it's closer, there might be 2 promoted listings or just 1 instead of 2, right? So it kind of seems like they're trying to almost reduce the impact of promoted listings and give a little bit more power or leeway to non-promoted.
Ooh, I don't see that.
That's what it said. I mean, if you read it.
No, I know. I just don't see that because promoted listings was one of their major moneymakers and their shareholders were very happy about it.
But here's the thing. What was the other type of listing promotion that they're talking about?
Oh, don't tell me.
Right? So this would...
Wait, but okay, but in case our listeners have no idea what we're talking about, we're talking about pay-per-click.
Pay-per-view.
Yeah, same thing. It's same
I don't
thing.
even know if it's click. I think it's every time it shows.
No, it's pay-per-click.
Is it click?
They said click.
Okay.
Pay-per-view would be worse.
Okay, yeah. So pay for click. So what I think they're doing is, I don't know what the number is, but just to give an example.
I think you're onto something.
So instead of having 3 promoted listings at the top, they're going to say, hey, look, in order to kind of make things a little even, we're only going to do 2 promoted listings at the top and put some organic ones. Because then once people get used to 2 promoted listings at the top, it's easy to say 2 promoted listings and a pay-per-click listing, right? Like it just changes the dynamics. But in
eBay,
the short term,
please do not go down that road. If anybody from eBay is listening and we have any kind of clout, which we don't, I'm not sure sellers would be, well, I don't know. The sellers that are willing to do the pay-per-click, I am not a fan of pay-per-click.
No, I think what it's going to do is eventually, if it works, it's going to, if you're one of the 10% that's doing it, you're going to reap tons of benefits.
Agreed.
And
so
then everybody's going to say, hey, I have to do that to be competitive. And now the overall cost of listing on eBay goes up. That's all that's going to happen.
And the only way to combat that is to source items that aren't as saturated.
Yeah.
I mean, Craigslist Hunter said, like, he never does promoted listings and he gets consistent sales. Why? Because he has items that people want that are unique.
Yep. Well, and it kind of sounds like they already are putting items in the promoted listing spots that might not be that relevant to customers.
Wow. You know, Mike, I appreciate you being on this podcast.
Thank you.
I did not even think of that. I really believe, and let us know in the comments below, do you think Mike is onto something? Because I really do think he's onto something.
Of course I am. Just kidding.
All right. Hey, before we move on though, real quick, this gives us an opportunity. If you have not subscribed to us on YouTube and you're listening to the podcast, it'd be great. Sometimes we drop videos. It's been a little bit, but you know, we may over time drop some more videos. Right now, we're just trying to focus on these 2 episodes a week. So subscribe and hit that bell button. You can also find us as Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And you can find us as Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. It's taking me a little work because I'm trying to change up how we say that. So also, you can give us a call at 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. And we actually have a phone call to share today, which is going to be our soundboard for Bolos.
Sweet.
That's going to be a new one. And you can also shoot us an email, purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That'd be great. Thank you guys all for the reviews. As we always say, it's one of the best ways to help us by putting us higher in the search for podcasts. And last of all, if you want to say thank you in a monetary way, which we're always grateful, which consistently has been happening, which we are just humbled about that, there's a PayPal link below. We really, really appreciate it. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Did I cover everything?
I think so.
That was a lot faster.
That's good.
Okay, good. All right. Next step. Our next item here in the seller update. So they reiterated new item specifics, that there's actually going to be a bunch of items that are going to be pushed into maybe different categories. And you may have to, you know, change some item specifics and certain items. I got to tell you, eBay has pushed us so much. Yep. They've actually said that certain items, if they don't have the item specific, even though the listing may have that word, they may not show up in the search.
Or maybe not to the extreme. The other kind of way of thinking about it is you can be in the top spot with a simpler, easier title that isn't like keyword spammed, that might not even mention the word. Like they showed us examples, like somebody might be looking for a certain type of dress or a certain type of shoe, and the words that they type in might not even show up in your title at all. And you still might be the number 1 or number 2 spot because you were specific. And people 3, 4, 5 below you had the exact phrase that they used in their search in their title, and yours was still at the top. So item specifics, it's a big deal. It could be a little time consuming, to be honest. There's a lot of times where, you know, I try and copy somebody else's listing that is already sold of a similar item and just hope that they've filled in all of it. And when it's like, oh, all the item specifics are in, I just need to change like maybe one measurement here or there. But when you got to start from scratch, man, sometimes it's rough.
Yep. It's one of those things where I'm a little concerned because earlier on I didn't care about item specifics, and when you have a large inventory, that might mean having to go back to items. Yeah, so that's my only concern about that.
Yep.
So
pay your assistant.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, that's another thing I want to talk about when we get to reseller topics here. All right. Hey, and next, top rated seller protection. We talked about this, but again, they're really ramping up seller protection. And the way they're doing that is if you offer 30-day returns, not free returns, 30-day returns, and you're a top rated seller, there'll be greater protections for you. And you can deduct a return up to 50% if it does not arrive back to you in the condition, like say it's new and they remove a tag or something, you can refund them up to 50% if you want. And also, if there's like a false INAD, item not as described claim, you can claim that and they'll refund your shipping up to $6.
Yeah, no, that's good. One thing I was a little kind of shocked of, because when we were talking to the execs over at eBay with this, we were with some other people who are on social media, and I was really excited that they talked about all those seller protections. But one thing that kind of got under my skin a little bit, and maybe I'm just thinking about it wrong, but was if an item returns and it was a false INAD, then we'll try and cover and it could be sent up the chain. But they said basically not that there was a limit, but kind of like that should only be 30% of the INADs, or a certain amount of the INADs that you receive should be going through this process. Because they were like, if you're doing this with every INAD, then almost we don't know if we could trust you. Because and part of me is like, but if you're a good seller, you're not going to have many items that are not as described.
Correct.
It's going to happen occasionally, but I would assume that majority of them that are coming back from customers, if you're doing your job correctly as a reseller, is because the customer is trying to get free shipping or get something out of it. Mm-hmm. So the idea that it's like, well, if you do it for every single INAD that comes through, we're going to basically put it on hold and say like, wait, what's going on here? But at the same time, that kind of says like you trust the buyer over the seller, because if you're a good seller, maybe once in a while, like I still have ones here and there where it's like, oh, I totally missized that, or I missed something. But that should be like very, very rare, right?
No, you're right. You're right. I will say something that may upset some people, but I just have gratitude for eBay.
Yeah, I do too.
No. The reason I say that is like, I see your point. I really see your point. But here's the thing. When you do Amazon, like Amazon does none of this. Amazon does not care. Right? I mean, the only other platform I know that really reaches out to sellers and tries to do things for sellers is Poshmark. But not even at the scale that eBay does, right? Because we've gone to like Posh Fest, we went to one, right? Mm-hmm. Posh Party Live or something like that. And it wasn't like it was like a get together, like, hey, let's meet other Poshers. But it wasn't like eBay rolling out the red carpet, letting you know how special you are, how much they take care of you. I mean, the reality is eBay doesn't have to do any of this. eBay doesn't have to offer seller protection.
But here's the difference. I think they do. Okay. And here's why I think it's great that they do.
To a certain point, but they don't have to like make an announcement. They don't have to have a Q&A. VPs don't have to join with, talk to people. Like when has Amazon done any of this?
Okay, so here's the difference.
Okay.
eBay's platform is different than Amazon's. Even though Amazon is primarily, or a lot of their sales are coming from third-party people, that's not their market. They're not trying to broker,
even though it's 58% of their sales.
They're not trying to broker a third-party person with a customer. They are the store, right? And they're benefiting right now that third-party people are sending stuff in, but they don't need third parties in the same way that eBay does. eBay doesn't sell there isn't a eBay store selling stuff, right? It's all third-party. They absolutely 100% have to take care of their sellers. Amazon doesn't, because Amazon sells their own stuff. They're their own store.
So here's okay, go ahead.
It's a difference, right? Like you have to admit that's a difference.
I kind of feel this way. I'm going to use this analogy. I'm going to go to Star Wars here. Mike's like, where are you going with this? I feel that Amazon is the empire and that eBay is the republic. and that the empire does whatever it wants and does not care and uses planets to its own benefits as much as it uses sellers to its own benefit, and it drops the hammer whenever it wants, right? And again, I'm good with that. Like you think about Amazon, you think about what Amazon did with FedEx, and that's the other reseller topic here, is that Amazon used FedEx, not for its services, but there's a news story that came out in the Wall Street Journal that Amazon basically used FedEx to learn how FedEx does things, and now Amazon's going to do what FedEx does and cut. And they have cut FedEx out, and I believe they may eventually just cut UPS out.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is they're two different types of platforms. So it makes, so as a seller, yeah, you get the benefit of eBay wanting to take care of, because they need the sellers, 100% need the sellers. Without sellers on eBay, there's no eBay.
I think Amazon needs the sellers. If 58% is third party, Mike, how could they not need the sellers? Do you know what I'm saying?
But not in the same way. They could and are moving towards the sellers. I think in a lot of ways, you talk about it all the time. They could drop the hammer at any time. It's their sandbox we're playing in. They could change the rules. They're moving in the same way they did with FedEx. And we even say, like, how long is the Amazon train going to last?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to keep going this way? Or are they eventually going to be 100%? They're stocking. They've got the contracts they're doing. And maybe third parties is such a small portion of what they're doing. So it's just two different platforms. Amazon is going to take care of their biggest third party people for sure. But the average person selling little things here and there is not important, because that's not what their platform is. A customer, they're just two different types of platforms. It makes sense that eBay is going to help the seller, whereas Amazon is going to be more focused on customer. Makes sense.
Yeah. Or, taking people's private labels and making it their own, or, you know what I mean? Like all these things that they do. And I'm hoping that eBay with this managed delivery systems, like the eBay fulfillment program, or, whatever it's called managed delivery, that it'll be different than Amazon. Right. And again, I'm done with my rant after this, but how many times have I sent in stuff to Amazon and it's like, oh, you're gated now, or this is stranded, or we removed this listing. I mean, I get DMs all the time. They're like, hey, Orlando, I sent the stuff in, but my stuff is stranded. Why? And I go, well, either Amazon just said, we're not doing this listing anymore. Amazon decided to gate you. Maybe you need some kind of training that you don't know about, right? Who knows? At least eBay. And again, we're not sponsored by eBay. Okay. eBay takes the time to communicate with us and say, these are the changes. I may not be a fan of the pay-per-click, but at least I know it's happening.
Yeah. And I think with the difference between the two is you are still willing to do Amazon, and you will even push me and say like, hey, you should try Amazon this, because even with all of that stuff, it's their sandbox with their rules is a treasure of opportunities.
Correct.
It's huge because they are
for now.
So now if eBay were to pull the things that Amazon is doing, you wouldn't be on eBay.
Possible. I mean, if the profit's good enough, why not?
So, but that's what I'm saying. Amazon, you're willing to take huge losses, and you're willing to put up with, hey, they changed the rules on me, but I'm going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if eBay was changing the rules constantly and changing things, and if you sent things in or you did stuff and they all of a sudden, like, you lost the listing and they double charged you and they wouldn't, or whatever it is, you'd be like, I'm not using this platform. It's not worth it. So that's the difference. That's why eBay does what they do for customers, because it's just different.
I think it's a valid point. I can't disagree with what you're saying. It's the empire and the republic. The republic is trying to beat the empire.
No, because that is putting out there though that like eBay is good and Amazon is bad. I don't think Amazon is bad.
I'm not saying they're bad.
Sure you are.
Just saying they're an empire. I mean, it depends on what side of the force you land on.
But here's the sad thing.
This is getting obnoxious.
Who does eBay want to be like?
I'm not going there. I think there may be certain forces in there that are trying to. I mean, here's the thing: if there's a good thing, you're gonna want to copy that good thing. In any part of life. If somebody's figured out a way to do their finances well, like you're gonna want to, copy that. If somebody's figured out how to, do some kind of remodeling project, you're gonna want to copy that. I can't knock eBay for looking at what Amazon is doing and going, huh? Maybe we should do something like that, or send offers. Hey, Poshmark's been doing it. Maybe we should start doing that. I can't knock that. I'm glad.
Oh, I'm glad too.
I'm glad for that. So that was an interesting conversation. Okay, the last part, eBay seller update. So now if there's like a policy violation, they won't end your listings. It won't suspend your account. They'll just hide it until you fix it. We kind of experienced that with our t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we got suspended and our listings got taken down.
Yep.
So that would have been nice a few weeks ago, even though we only had one listing. Imagine if you had 1,000 listings. Sorry, those of you that have gone through that. It's kind of nice that you won't have to deal with that again.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I shared a little bit about our next. Anyways, that's the eBay seller update. We didn't cover everything. There's stuff about Terapeak. There's other stuff about inventory optimization. All you have to do is Google eBay Fall Seller Update 2019, and it'll take you to a link. You can read all about it. Now, other reseller topics. I had discussed about Amazon's empire building. So it's kind of crazy. Like I don't think a day passes where I'm taking my kids to school or going somewhere that I do not see an Amazon van or an Amazon truck. Kind of interesting. Do you experience the same?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think going back to my point, that's the reason they can be non-seller focused, because the reality is they don't need you in the same way. And we, in some ways, are just, as sad as it is, because if you want to call them an empire, which it is, we almost get to like grovel before them and say, thank you for letting us kind of benefit from you, right? Like that's really what's happening. And not that that's a bad thing, because think of how many people Amazon is helping, not just sellers, but customers, right? Like I get things so much cheaper and I don't have to drive as often. And I just think about
and it's fast, like one day, sometimes hours.
It's crazy how fast things come. And even just Amazon, I think people are going to look back years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, and see like the different revolutions that we've had, the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution. I think Amazon is leading a revolution in the sense of the way people buy stuff. Like now I won't buy anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I'm going to buy like some cleaning spray. I'm going to look at the item that has the most reviews, the most stars, and I'm going to read some reviews before I get something. Before, you used to go into a store and you maybe pick the cheapest one, or you like, oh, I've heard of that brand before. But now it could be like an off brand that has the higher reviews and people are like, this is cheaper than the other one. It actually works better. I've used both. And it has changed the way now Amazon, I would say, has literally forced companies to create better products.
Well, and I won't buy anything if it's not Prime. I want my stuff right away. It's kind of annoying. The other day, I bought a shirt on Amazon and I asked for Prime, and it still took 6 days.
Yeah, Amazon has been bad about that.
But if they build this shipping empire, I think that's going to stop.
I think the scary part is, and I saw this, I'm not an Apple person, so I'm sorry for offending all of you that
he's missing out.
Are part of the Apple cult. Just kidding.
The Mac cult.
But Apple experienced the same thing and for a short term when they got rid of Google Maps. Like Google as a software program did a lot of things way better than Apple did. And Apple wanted to do it their own way. And during the initial phase jump between, they got rid of Google Maps, they got rid of Google this, and they did their own. Like now you've got to play inside of their world only. At first, man, people were furious because it didn't work well, right? Like It took a long time. And so I think we're seeing that to small extents with Amazon. And I think they're taking a slower approach, but things like getting rid of FedEx and hiring their own trucks, and they're slowly getting to a place. And I think there's going to be some growing pains, but yeah, it is going to be Amazon through and through. They're not going to need third parties for anything, right? Like I can even imagine like the people who come to do bug spray for Amazon are going to be Amazon employees. Like everything is going to be Amazon. Like they're just growing and expanding into so many markets. It's truly incredible. But at the same time, you know, it's opening up opportunities and making everybody's life easier. You get better products for cheaper. If you're a seller, you get to, like, it's pretty amazing. So, and it's pushing other companies, as much as I hate the fact that like eBay now is pushing, like, you got to have free shipping. Amazon is pushing other companies, Walmart, Vons, even. I'm thinking like once Amazon started doing free grocery deliveries or like really cheap grocery deliveries, it forced all of the other ones around us to start doing it. And so it's good for
innovation definitely makes things better for the consumer and the seller.
Yep.
So agreed.
Because as people have more money in their pocket because they're not spending as much, they go buy and that random trinket on eBay because
Your trinket.
yeah,
There you go.
my duck decoy.
All right. So that's our Amazon discussion. Okay. I wanted to share this. So I put an article out on Instagram about Depop. You know what Depop is?
No.
It's another listing platform. And supposedly now this wasn't by a major, newspaper, or well, not newspaper, major online news. Do newspapers exist anymore?
News source. Yeah. They're print
despite
newspapers.
being an emoji on the phone.
Yep.
Okay.
They're print newspapers.
All right. Anyways,
I still like them.
I'm done. Anyways, that's a whole nother discussion. I do like books though. I still like picking up books and reading. So Depop, there was this article about how it's the new platform, like it's a popular platform for Generation Z. All right. So I threw it out there on Instagram, and I remember one of the hustles of the week was Thrift Bro a couple weeks ago sold a Wu-Tang shirt for $250. Okay. Wu-Tang. And I just needed to say that. And so it led to this huge discussion because I had asked, okay, are we late to the party? Right? Do I need to list all my 90s vintage stuff onto Depop? So huge. I was surprised at how many people commented. And people were saying, yeah, I think so. Great. Somebody actually said, hey, right after you posted that, I posted something on Depop and it sold. I'm like, wow. And then other people are like, it takes months. Like things don't sell. Then somebody else said, this was crazy to me. This is what leads to our reseller topic here. Somebody said, I haven't tried Depop, but I cross-post to Poshmark, Mercari, Curtsy, Relove, and Tradesy. And then
That sounds intense.
And then there's another platform. I think it's Trade Posts. Shout out to you guys. I know you're trying to start something new that's out there too. And there's also the Real, right? There's also, there's Bonanza that I use, right? I mean, there's so many. And so I've really been trying to use List Perfectly and Vendu and trying to do Poshmark. And I've been using Chrome extensions to share my Poshmark closets. But I'm going like, is there too much? What do you think? Is there too much? I mean,
I don't know. You got a 10x it.
Oh my goodness.
That's possible, right? No, but I do think.
How about I just 3x it?
3x. I don't know. I think it depends on your model. I think there's a way where you can go all in on one or two, or you can be partially in on multiple and get similar results, right? Like if you're all in on just one platform, your total income might be the same as if you're just partially in on several. So I don't know. It depends on what you want to do. I mean, it might be better to be all in on one, but at the same time, the nice thing about having your, I guess your eggs in different baskets is if something happened with one of them, if things fell through, you're still moving, right? Can you imagine if eBay's website went down for a couple of days and there was issues with something?
That'd be rough.
It'd be rough. But if you're still moving on Amazon and you're still moving on Poshmark, or you shifted all your focus now there, you'd be in a better place than if you're like, I've got to start from scratch on another platform.
No, I agree. I mean, I've shared that August was a rough month, but on eBay for me, but Amazon helped compensate a lot of that, right? So I get it. I'm just, and I just bring this up to our listeners just to think about, because Craigslist Center had shared that it was too much in the sense that eBay works really well. They do some Amazon. And so, they're going to keep doing that because it gets a little out of hand once you add a third and a fourth platform. And I know some of you out there are really good at selling. I saw somebody on TikTok, they're nine platform seller, 9 platforms. I wouldn't even know what to do. I can't even handle 3, let alone 9, right? But some of you out there are able to do that. So it's just something to think about, because I think there's always going to be other platforms coming out that are going to try to be unique and different, because this is kind of the age we're in, right? Like the reason our podcast is listened to, because we have the opportunity. There are certain, there's people like you that are awesome that want to listen to the podcast, but then there's a whole bunch of other people that don't care for our podcast, right? And it's the same thing with platforms. There's some people that care about selling certain items, certain platforms, and there's other people that are like, no, I don't care. I will never sell on eBay. I'm just going to do Poshmark and Mercari or whatever. So just bring that up just to think about, because I'm getting to a place where I'm going, maybe there's too much, because here's what you got to think about too. The more you list, the more you got to find things that are efficient to be able to cross post, right? So for instance, List Perfectly is about $50 a month. Vendu, I'm not sure. I'm still in that beta period, so I'm not paying, but there's a cost to that, right? Sellhound, there's a cost to that. If you can use certain program Chrome extensions to share closets, there's a cost to that.
How's that going, by the way?
It's a beast. It's great.
Like, so it's sharing closets, but are you getting sales?
No.
Well then.
But again, I can't. The reason I haven't brought that up yet, because I only have about 50 items listed. Right now, if I have 500 items listed and I'm sharing like crazy, I'm not getting sales, then I'm going to have to reevaluate. So I can't. That's why I didn't make that judgment call yet. So I need to get there first. But again, anytime I do List Perfectly or I list to whatever Depop or Mercari, I'm taking away from eBay or I'm taking away from Amazon, which is in the end supporting my family and a little bit more. So
good points.
Things to think about. All right. So that is our reseller topics. Are you ready for our BOLO?
Let's hear our new intro.
Are you ready for our intro?
Our BOLO transition.
All right, let me play this. Got to get to the play screen, and obviously Mike will do his magic, so it plays out.
Yo, yo, yo! It's not the first time and not the last time you'll be hearing from me. This is at Supreme Vintage California. Just finished your newest episode. I'm stoked on all the BOLOs, hustles y'all are sharing. Just wanted to give you guys a little free soundboard of my own creation. If maybe you'll get a kick out of it, maybe you can use it, who knows. Here goes. BOLO! Paulo! BOLO! Yo, yo. BOLO. Found Chicka BOLO. That's all I got for now. Keep it up, guys. Thank you so much.
Nice. That was a lot of them. So I think what we'll do is I could divide those up into like the 4 of them that there are, and we can alternate a little BOLO soundboard to introduce. I like that. BOLO. It's good stuff, man. Thank you for that. Thank you for calling in.
I will say, I really, really appreciate that. I mean, that takes some courage.
Yeah. No. Hey, I tell you what, it's making it into the transitions. So we're gonna be using those from now on. And
are we really? Are you officially calling that right now?
I'm gonna try to.
Okay, but what's gonna happen is we're gonna get. Anyways, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And you also had shared some other items, which we'll share at another time. So thank you for your voicemails. Really, really, I listened to that and I'm like, that takes some guts, because once you leave that voicemail, that's it. You can't take it back. Right?
Yeah.
And so now it's going to be in the PHP archives.
That's right.
So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And again, if you want to leave us a voicemail, 738, actually 619-738-1170. We're here for you.
Yeah.
All right.
BOLO. Here we go. What do you got?
I didn't want to interrupt this BOLO. Okay. So mine's an interesting BOLO. And I bring this up because I've had awesome sales as a result of this. And if I've already shared this, please let me know, but I don't think I have. Is whenever you pick up like stereo systems, don't sell them all together. Separate them out. Right? Or, I mean, I'm not saying do it right, but do the research. So I've had 2 instances where I've made a killing doing this. And not 2 instances, my whole reselling time, 2 instances in the last month or so. So first was a set of Onkyo speakers, Onkyo stereo amp, and Onkyo, I think it was like a receiver. I don't know what it was. I paid $12.99 for all of it at the store that shall not be named.
Wow.
Sold the speakers for $80.
Nice.
Sold the stereo amp for $180.
Nice.
And the other thing I have listed for $180. Now, I saw other listings on eBay where all these were together for $200. And I go, I wonder if I sold these separately, if I can make more. Sure enough, I can make more.
Which might even be just a strategy to use. And we've heard a few people have done the same thing when it comes to like eBay arbitrage. Find people, because I just sold, and this is probably a mistake, but I sold a bunch of NES games.
I saw that.
Old Nintendo games. And I bundled them together, and I looked up a few of them, and they were, some of them selling for $5, some for $10. And I didn't want to spend the time listing all of these games together. I didn't find any that were worth a ton. I listed them, I bundled them together, they sold. But I know that if I'd have broken them up individually, and there was one in there that I ended up looking up later because somebody bought it right away, that one game sold for like 15 or 25. And it was like, oh, I probably lost. I probably could have made an extra $20 or $30 had I broken these up. But if you're willing to do that time, there's tons and tons of things that are put together already in sets that you can buy and break up. You just got to know what you're doing, and you got to be willing to put in that effort.
Yeah. And you got to figure out if it's worth it. So you're talking about the reverse, and I'll give you an example of the reverse where it worked to my benefit not to do that. So remember that crazy Disney estate sale?
Oh, right.
So I sold a set of, this wasn't a hustle of the week, was it? No, I don't think it was. I think I posted it on Instagram. I had 9 Disney, like John Deere, Mickey Mouse farmer, like figurines. And the person, so I lotted them all together for 300 something. The person offered me $235 for just 6 of them. And I took it. I usually don't part this out, but I'm like 6 for $235, and I only paid $5 for each of them. It's a major score right there. Kind of hustle of the week material. So it worked to my benefit, because if I sold them individually, it would have taken a lot longer to get, that money back. And I have the other 3 pieces, which I'm going to bundle together, and I'm going to see if I can get $99.99 for them. Right. And in the end, that whole time at the estate sale, I paid $300 for everything. The monorail I picked up, these pieces, a bunch of other Disney stuff. So in reverse, it works. Now, the other thing I sold, this is the other reason it's a BOLO, is, do you remember those huge tulip stand Bose speakers?
Yeah.
And so I picked those up for $150 at a estate sale. Now, they all come together. So you have the tulip speakers, you have, I don't know, what do you call it? Equalizer. And then you have the center channel speaker. So I had seen people on eBay had sold all of them together for like $400, $500. I decided to part it out. I sold the tulip stand speakers for $450 plus shipping. I sold the center channel speaker for about $100 plus shipping. Then I sold the equalizer for $212 plus shipping.
Nice.
So again, separated it out.
Yeah.
And I can give you story upon story, with remote controls, I've done that, and other items. So BOLO is not only look out for that equipment, but look after you buy it to see, hey, is it better for me to just sell these all separately? Now, if you're trying to make the quick buck, it may be worth it to put it together and sell it all together. But if you're trying to make more money in the long term, it may be worth it to you, because sometimes, somebody's equalizer might have broken and they don't need the speakers, or somebody has the equalizer and they need the speakers, and vice versa. So
yeah, because when you need just an individual piece, you're not thinking of, well, I could buy the whole set, and this is, you just need that piece. So
that's my BOLO.
That's good stuff. Good. So mine, believe it or not, is a synthesizer.
I remember you mentioned it earlier in the podcast about an hour or so ago.
Yeah. But anyways, the reason I bring this up is because I find at thrift stores all the time, there's almost always a keyboard at almost every thrift store you go into, right? And 99% of the time, it's like Casio, right?
Which there's some good Casios, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, very few. Like Casio, for the most part, unless I'm totally wrong, they tend to be cheaper. You just
think of the smaller. Actually, the smaller ones are better ROI. Not that they sell for more, but the ROI is better.
Really interesting. But yeah, so Yamaha, if you can find some Yamaha keyboards, usually there's some money there. Typically, those tend to be more like piano style. But if you don't know the difference between a keyboard and a synthesizer, the way they look, do a little bit of research, because almost every synthesizer that you find is going to be money, right? And they look very
especially now.
Yeah, they look very similar to keyboard, and especially because keyboards have a lot of the dials and knobs and stuff on top now. It can be difficult to tell the difference. But once you can spot the difference between a synthesizer and a keyboard, most synthesizers are worth money. And so there's a brand of synthesizer, one of the most popular ones, it's Korg, K-O-R-G.
I've seen those.
And Korg is one of the top, like if you go to concerts and you're seeing like bands performing, like they almost always, if they've got a synthesizer up on stage, 99% of the time it's Korg. If it's not Korg, it might be Roland. There might be a couple of other brands, but I was so shocked to find today in a thrift store a Korg keyboard, right? Like a Korg synthesizer.
Nice.
It's something I never thought I'd see, but it's one of those things where I wonder how many times people pass them up. I mean, because this was an item that it was 50% off because the tag had moved down, which tells me even at the full price they were asking, it was a steal. Which tells me that it has been in this thrift store for probably a week or two and nobody picked it up. Probably because majority of people see it and it's like, it's just another keyboard.
And that'll never happen again because you just shared it.
I just shared the Korg.
Just messing.
Nah, I mean, I've at this point I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in thrift stores. I've only seen one Korg keyboard.
That's what I mean.
But just in case you ever see one, check it out. Might be worth picking it up. This one's cool. It's actually a vocoder too. So I don't know if you know what that is, but it's got a microphone that you can attach to it and you can like talk or sing into it and then actually play the keys and it changes your voice and you can like make your voice all robotic and do weird stuff.
Taking it old school.
It's a trip, man. So anyways, check it out. KORG Korg. If you can find one of those.
I don't know if I could sell that. If I had that, I would keep it.
I know my wife, when she saw it, she's like, you are way too excited about this. You can't keep it.
It's so cool. Maybe we should like do our
whole
intro
episode.
Our intro music with
Welcome
that.
to Wrestle Podcast.
Oh my goodness. Okay, it is getting late. It is actually, if you guys want to know, it's almost midnight right now.
Yep.
So, but we want to, keep providing that value. So we're willing to do it. So what are you looking forward to?
Obviously garage sales, but if I were to say not something I'm actually excited about, but I'm excited about the outcome afterwards, I'm going to begin the process of listing all of my Department 56 stuff. So starting tomorrow,
it's been a while, Mike.
Yeah, it's been a big undertaking because it's one of those things where it's like, I'd rather just do it all at once, like in one go, or maybe a couple instead of just like one item here.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because you're already in the zone of a certain type of pictures and listing. So finally I'm at a place where I think I can carve out the day or two that it's going to take to do it. And I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm looking forward to the huge boost of items that's going to be in my store.
And the profits you're going to make.
That I'm going to make. So
how much did you pay for the whole thing?
I don't remember the number now. I want to say it was like right around it's like 200, 250 maybe.
250? You're only going to have to sell like 4 of those items and you're going to be in the black, like right away.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for you.
And I'm also excited to get that whole shelving unit back.
That is true. No, I get that. But I get it. I'm in the same scenario where I have certain, and actually I'm probably 85% caught up on all my items that need to be listed. Got another 15%. So got to work with my helper. So right now my helper has been super busy. So listing, I may be looking to hire another one too to kind of offload one.
You want to hire another assistant?
Another, whatever you call it. Yes, a helper. Okay. It's an ongoing joke.
Your employee?
No, helper. All right. So that's what you're looking forward to. Okay. So what am I looking forward to? Thanks for asking, Mike.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you can ask your helper to ask you that.
Oh, thanks. All right. So it's time for me to start sending FBA shipments twice a week. I know it sounds weird, but remember my model shifted from being 70 Amazon, 30 eBay to being 70 eBay, 30 Amazon.
But now it's shifting back.
It's gonna, maybe. I want to keep it 50-50. That would be ideal. But right now I'm getting the sense I do have a huge inventory kind of backlog that I've sent a lot of it already out, and I'm going to start making money automatically next week because they're low ranked items. But at the same time, it's kind of weird. I have not really gone to Target or Walmart, more Walmart, but I really haven't gone to Target at all since Q4 or maybe the first month after Q4. It kind of feels weird walking in and scanning things again, but I need to get into habit because those end up being my second home starting in October. Like every IG story ends up being, here's Orlando blurring stuff at Target and Walmart again, or whatever other store I'm at. So, but I need to get into the habit of that, and I need to get the rhythm because I'm finding, this is one thing I've shared and people disagree with me. Doing an FBA shipment can be just as much work as listing multiple items on eBay and taking pictures. I 100%. It's some people say it's streamlined. I think it can be streamlined, but it depends what you source, right? So if it's apparel, it's a beast. I'm talking about hours. You know, I find that if I have 100 pieces of apparel, and some of you are gonna be like, Orlando, you're just slow. Okay, that's good. I am watching Netflix, but it takes me about 4 hours to process all that. It's a lot of time. So now it's worth my time because it's several $100s an hour I'm making, so it's worth my time. So that I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to be merchant fulfilled ready. I need to take care of that. So hopefully all this will come to fruition by the next update episode. So
I like it.
With that being said, I think we're ready to close before we turn into
pumpkins,
something like that. So with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Please.